The top five or the five winners across the region will each receive a $30,000 grant. So that grant will actually give the filmmaker or the writer or the producer that capability to proceed and produce the pilot episode of his as far as his concept is concerned. And all five produced pilots will then compete for that top post. The chosen material that will be then produced and produced with a maximum of 13 episodes.
Yeah.
And each episode will also be given a $30,000 grant.
Let me just ask Mr. Mati, when the premiere of On the Job to the series will
Ayaw na namin magsabi mo na eh.
Later now.
Baka makapahiya.
Mamaya lang sa one-on-one, like to focus on. We'll share more details kasi katulad nga sinabi ni Direk Eric, it's, a much bigger cast. Yun ko nga, na-shock din ako sa 65. Pero totoo yun. Kasi as you, all remember, we already announced some members of the cast, no? Pero kulang pa yon. So we're still working on that. In fact, we have, I think, the next couple of weeks to work on the cast. So as pag ready na kami to announce, the details, kasi syempre we have to check the availability pa rin, di ba? Yun, we're going to have another, of course, event with you and share with you more.
Yeah, and just a small update again. Since we're launching as a movie, it's inevitable in the given market that we have in the Philippines. We're looking into some bigger actors to bring into the project. We're in the middle of negotiating those actors, and hopefully we could bring them in so that we could launch OTJ as a film to bring in a bigger audience.
Kasi merong mga cast direct, no, nakasama sa pareho, both
Yes,
the series
yes.
and the film. So that's really being planned carefully. But thank you.
Okay, other questions?
Good afternoon, Armin Alina from Inquirer Libre. How many judges will you have in total?
We're looking at around 6 judges. So we've announced 3. There are 3 more to go.
One more question for Mr. Mati. Sir, aside from the criteria mentioned by Ms. Allison, originality, creativity, and marketability, relevance to the market, how are you going to select your personal winners based on scripts alone?
I think judging from how I also try to make my films. But ever since I came back to doing movies way back in 2011, I took a hiatus for maybe 5-6 years. My main goal, looking at how movies are made in the Philippines, my main goal when I went back into filmmaking is to do movies for the local market, but at the same time with the big potential for international crossover. And I think everyone's talking globally right now. Everyone's all contents are geared towards speaking to as many countries as possible, and not just your local market. I remember the first project I made, which I thought would have international legs. We were able to sell it for a few territories like Germany, Australia, New Zealand, Tik, but mostly North America, France, and generally Europe. They tend to shy away with stories that have comedy in it, because comedy is usually local, very local. What's funny to us may not be funny to people in India or people in Thailand. So those are things that we're considering. But at the same time, you don't also want to see materials that doesn't evoke the local flavor. Because all international movies from different territories that make it globally, have a very strong local voice, but at the same time have very universal themes. So I think that's how I'm gonna look at judging the materials as well.
Okay, one more question.
Hi, I'm Jaman from Orange Magazine. Question now about the originality of the story. How original is original? Kasi meron na kasi tayong issues before sa mga script na sometimes it's rehashed, sometimes it's inspired with another film. How strict are you in terms of originality? And meron ba siyang restrictions like pwede ba yung maraming mura or shock value or culture shock na tinatawag natin?
Jeff, I would like to answer. Comment first about the how edgy can we be?
I'll leave the originality portion to Direct because he will be the one judging it. But as far as shock value and the cultural thing that we will be very careful about. We're good as far as we're looking for actually something very edgy. I think even with OTJ as a pilot HOOQ original, we said that as far as getting into original content creation is concerned, we want our materials to be edgy and risque, but very sensitive to the cultural differences as well that we have in the region. So I guess those are the things that we will be mindful of and considering when we choose the best one. But I'll leave the originality portion to you.
In addition to Jeff's answer, then I think we would all agree the reason why we're moving towards online as well is because we can get a lot of other stories out there in other formats. So if you look at TV, you know what types of stories they're talking about. When you go to movies, you can only afford to go R16, R13. But there are a lot of stories that push, that can be riskier, that can be harder to bring out in cinemas or even on the small screen of TV, that may very well find a home online. No? So I think pag online, you're pushing the boundaries talaga because you can find any market for whatever story you have, so long as it's online. Now, in terms of originality, I think, I can't remember who said this, but there hasn't been an original movie since 1970s. There's only like 4 main stories in movies: the guns, the girls, and rock and roll. Yes, other movies are inspired by other movies, but what you're looking for really is the personal voice of the one thinking about the project. So it may be influenced or it may be inspired by other projects, but the content is personal to the filmmaker, then it becomes a fresher idea, a more unique idea that you really feel it needs to be told.